Welcome to Oregon Voters Digest, the program that brings forward the social and political issues that are important to people living here in the Pacific Northwest. And now, your host, Bruce Broussard.
Welcome again to this segment of the Oregon Voters Digest. I'm Bruce Broussard, your show, and I think we're going to have quite a show. We'll call it a wrap-up, if you will. I've got my old standing folks that have been with me for quite some time, and we've always been the entree, we've always been the end, we've always been the opening, we've always been the middle aspect of it. And I'm talking about Don DuPay and my dear friend Don DuPay and his wife Theresa. They both here. Theresa, they're right there. Welcome, folks. How's it going?
Good.
And look like we're this Thanksgiving, kind of like a Thanksgiving week, so to speak, a 2 weekend deal. We're going to probably replay this show, but for the benefit of those out there, we're going to try to give you sort of a wrap up, kind of like an overview of what's going on, because we got the upcoming elections. That's a big kind of a deal. We got the national situation. We're on the harassment kick right now. Every male that's repping, it's almost like cleaning the swamp. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's a quick way to clean the swamp. You know, from a national perspective, because all the guys are trying to figure out, well, gee whiz, and who did I harass and who did I mess around, or blah 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 routine, and
the Harvey Weinstein effect.
Oh my God! So we're going to talk about that a little bit. You know, just kind of because that's one of the major topics. And then we're going to come local, if you will, and which is the main thing. And we're talking about our local environment. We're here. We got this weather situation. We have no solution for getting those guys. I'm talking about the homeless aspect of it. Yeah. That's a major problem. You think we've gone through several winters. I mean, all due respect to the mayor, he's been there long enough. Plus, in fact, he was a county chair for one term. Well, he did one term, right? He did one term. He did 4 years over there. So he's familiar with the situation, and we still have the problem. I mean, we got to do something about this.
Yeah.
We got to get these folks off the street right now during this inclement weather, so we don't have the similar situation that we've had before.
We had several fatalities last year.
So we're going to talk about that aspect of it, and then we're going to talk about the upcoming political races that we're going to be having, and kind of set that stage up, because it really hasn't gotten into gear right away off the bat. But we get ready to get in there right after the Thanksgiving holidays. We're going to we're going to have to get into that, and that's a serious thing now. We want some serious leadership. We want serious leadership. We don't want just a person just running on the money aspect of it. They got to have the resume to be able to solve these problems. We want solutions. We want issues.
We want solutions.
We want solutions. So that's where we're going to be coming from, folks. And I took a moment to do this with the two guys. They're already familiar. You know, I'll just be right up front with it, and then that's familiarity because they get involved in things, and we all have been involved in that. I might add just right off the bat, we're going to probably talk about me, because in all due respect, I've been sitting around trying to figure out, well, where's that leadership in reference to homelessness aspect of it, and the vets. In fact, Don and we've been out there talking about reaching out to vets. We've actually created a nonprofit to do that, going out and vetting those veteran organizations outside of the VA who are saying they're doing something for the vets. Yeah. And then we're going to vet them so we can kind of say, okay, fine, these are the ones that are great, and trying to put together, if you will, a binder that we can hand out and whatever. So we've been looking at that piece, and that's a very interesting piece. And then we've been spending quite a bit of time too with Theresa. We've been looking at this whole issue with the county, with Wapato and whatever. So those are some of the things that we want to deal with. So yeah, there we go. That's it. Sit on the stage. Where do we start? Let's start real quick, like on this whole issue with the sex thing. I mean, the harassment situation. Teresa, we're gonna let you go first, because we don't. The male is this. It's the women thing. What do you think?
Well,
what do you feel about this?
I guess the Harvey Weinstein scandal started the whole Me Too movement of women speaking out about having been either sexually harassed or sexually assaulted, and it's created this really kind of hysterical atmosphere nationwide. And I've read some articles where men are saying that, you know, people, male professionals in Hollywood, everyone's terrified because they don't know who's next. And then, of course, Al Franken was accused of sexual misconduct, and it turns out that he really didn't engage in any sexual misconduct. I've read all the articles. The woman who accused him is kind of dubious, and it's kind of I think it's a great thing that it's happened, because it's shining light on the fact that Hollywood and the entertainment industry is just inundated with sexual predators. So.
But you would agree, though, once you're singled out and they put you out on the table, you can't get out. I mean, you're there. You're there for the rest of the duration
Right.
of the piece. Al Franklin, Al Green, remember the guy who was going to impeach President Trump? Remember that? Mm-hmm. He's from Houston, Texas. I just happened to know the guy.
Yeah.
I just happened to know the guy because I was raised there, if you will, and went to school there. All I knew Al, and he got up there, and he was one of the first one, and Maxine Waters was there too. But the male part,
Yeah.
they only found that he also was in the same situation.
Well, and the funny thing about this whole situation is it's like Harvey Weinstein is probably going to face charges. He's a rapist. I mean, it seems pretty clear. And then the actor Kevin Spacey has also...
a whole bunch of actors.
And what's funny is when anything like this happens, they go into treatment, So Harvey Weinstein's in treatment and Kevin Spacey's in treatment, as if they go into treatment and then graduate or whatever, they go through the process of treatment, that means they're all better. And that's just, it's great, I guess that they're both going and getting treatment, but it doesn't change the fact that Harvey Weinstein is a criminal and he's going to face charges. And I would love it if he was arrested and imprisoned, because he's destroyed numerous lives. And I just,
Hold on, Don. What do you think about this, Don?
I'm hoping that all of this nonsense is a generational thing, because I can honestly say I have never groped a woman in my whole life. Not even when I was a kid in the Navy. You knew you didn't get away with that shit. I didn't want to. My father never did anything like that.
yeah.
And I can't believe that all these guys that, well, I did this or I did that. I even asked my wife permission now, because that's just the way it's done. So I don't understand it. I hope it's a generational thing, and all you pigs that can't keep your hands to yourself, you deserve the slap in the face. And I think a lot of this could have been solved initially, the first time you touched me. Now, don't do it anymore.
Well,
Can we move on from that now?
I like that.
My hands are clean. I don't worry about it.
That's right. Same here. Same here. But thinking about from a political standpoint, remember we started this whole political arena in regards to the whole issue of the last election for president aspect of it. The people were very upset. One, they wanted to clean the swamp. Political and the media, both, right? Those two. Got me? And then what if all of a sudden we knew when that point was made, and before the debates even started, said, okay, we're going to look in this whole issue of this groping, this sexting aspect of it, and then all of a sudden, by the way, I think it was 15 to 18 million bucks that had been paid out already to staffers in Congress, if you will, but it was sort of a hush type thing
To keep the sex scandals quiet.
Right, the sex scandals quiet. They'd go on and a young lady would yell about it, etc., and then they'd investigate it, and then it was fact, and then they'd pay her out of this secret pond, if you will, and then the congressperson is still serving. Nobody says anything.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden they're looking at the whole deal, but now, i.e., they're in demand, if you will, of all the names that are already there.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting to see how many people are there. They still haven't gotten the names out there yet, but there's an effort because it's gotten into politics. It's gotten into politics. And the impact, well, look at what's happening. I mean, in terms of all of a sudden, if a person sticks their heads up and says, okay, fine, I'm going to be jumping on this guy over here, then there's a whole investigative group that's on this particular person, and just go on and on and on.
The issue is, there's this question, do you believe women or not? Most women should be believed because it happens.
Absolutely.
But then you have this Tweeden woman who's accusing Al Franken of doing something inappropriate. And there's photographs of her. She's posed nude. There's photographs of her grabbing a guy's butt on stage. She doesn't come across as reliable. And I just cannot imagine Al Franken guilty of sexual misconduct.
Well, it was a comedian. He was a comedian.
Yeah.
And there were other women. I mean, when they say groping, I mean, imagine the kind of acts that he went through aspect of it. But there are more women now on the list that have said he's done this. And the other side of that thing, folks are looking at it from the standpoint, hey, I got to make me a buck.
Yeah.
You know,
that's exactly right.
You know, that's I'm gonna make him a buck.
And
now.
there's a photograph of her and this supposed kiss, you know, and she's got her arms around him. I mean, it just, so it's like, there's this delicate balance between real victims, and then you've got this woman who's obviously trying to get some notoriety and make a buck.
Yeah, yeah.
We brought it up. We talked about it. Let's not do it anymore, guys.
Yeah. That's
It's a good thing to talk about.
But how do we cut it off, though?
How do you cut it off? Slap in the face the first time's how you stop it.
But where we are now,
cut it off.
how far is this going to go? Because we've got some major issues that we deal with. And I'm not trying to take this as a light issue. Because in fact, my last guest for this past Sunday was a Me Too. The young lady, we talked about that aspect of it. But I'm still asking that question. When do we get to that point? We got to do something about it. Because we got some major issues nationwide, worldwide, because China, as you know, China's just trying to buy up the world, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, everything that we have now is made in China. And we're needing those jobs back here. We got to eat. But we're not dealing with those issues.
I think in terms of when does it stop?
Is when somebody goes to jail.
Well,
that's when it stops.
It stops. Really, it starts at home. It starts when boys are raised to love their mothers and respect their mothers. And Don had such a great relationship with his mother. He didn't grow up feeling resentment towards women. You know, he just has always been very laid back and loving and easygoing towards women. I think it starts at home, raising boys to really love their mother and to respect their mother, and having mothers that are loving and protective and competent parents.
Yeah,
you know?
but then on the other side, under today's world aspect of it, you with the TV and this, that, and the other. Look at the kinds of things that are on this air.
Yes.
I mean, look at the kind of stuff. Look how women are treated and how the women are portrayed. I mean, nudity means nothing, if you will.
I know.
I mean, when even in the Facebook aspect of it, now, I hate to say it to so many words. Women, the pimp is Facebook now. The pimp is
true.
Is in fact, you know. And the poor lady, she's trying. You know, I'm safe. I just do my own thing.
Well, and a lot of women do it to themselves. Just yesterday, I was on Facebook or maybe Instagram, and I have a friend, and she had her whole breast exposed, and she's a beautiful girl, and I'm like, really? You know, and I was really surprised.
Yeah. So my point is that you got that mixed too at the same time, and then like I said, these poor guys nowadays, they're all kind of, oh my, what about me? I mean, I might have done this, or I might have looked at and this, that, and the other, or if not that, I can't even look at anybody. I'm in the mall, and somebody's sitting up there, excuse the French, you know, leg spread or something like that, or somebody women be looking at men, right?
Yeah.
And men be looking at women, right? I mean, to a certain degree. But it's a man thing right now, and guys got to stop. So the key is that how do we deal with the issues?
You deal with the issues by putting them in jail. You deal with the issues by stopping it before it starts. So let me talk a minute about Packwood. Years and years ago, when he first started, he knocked on my door out in Gresham and says, "Hi, I'm Bob Packwood. I'm running for office against Wayne Morris."
Right.
And he was a young, idealistic man. And then look what happened to him. He became the groper, the congressional groper that lost all of his respect.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe he could have been cured, but the first woman he grew up with smacked him on his ass. Smacked his face. You don't do that, Bob. Bam, bam, bam.
Right.
Because there's no repercussion. If you don't go to jail or you don't get your butt kicked, you're going to probably keep at it and become the Bob Packwood. You know.
The funny thing about
I don't have that worry in my hands. I'm not worried about some woman coming out of the closet and say Don did this or that. My hands are clean.
Right.
Can you say the same?
Yes.
You know what's funny about Bob Packwood is that I actually met him too. When I was working as a hotel maid in Southwest Portland in about 1996, he was staying at this hotel that's right south of the Ringside restaurant, and he stayed there for years, and I met him and actually came into his room to clean his room, and I remember looking up and thinking, God, he looks familiar, but I didn't know at the time. And then I saw his name, Bob Packwood, and he was really nice, and he seemed like the saddest, most depressed man I had ever seen in my life.
Oh, really?
He was so like, he just seemed melancholy. He seemed so sad, and I was about 29 at the time, and you know,
no problem.
He didn't grope me.
Okay, good.
We mad?
No.
Well, it is an issue. It is an issue, and you know, hopefully, And it's not, again, like I said, and another side, I might think one other point that I wanted to make in regard to that same thing is that it became a culture as if to say, okay, fine, if a woman wanted to, i.e., get a job, especially in the acting career aspect of it, I mean, it's kind of like, who do you screw to get in?
The casting couch.
Who do you screw to get in? And who do you screw to get out?
Yeah,
That type
yeah.
of thing. I mean, you're hearing all kinds of things nowadays that I'd never heard before. You know what I'm saying? And then the whole what do you call it? I'm thinking about the atmosphere of clothing and stuff, what you wear, and the fashions, if you will. I mean, some of that was fashion. You said, Jesus Christ! And the women are saying, well, look, I'm trying to get attraction. I mean, why do women wear certain blah blah blah, and for guys to look?
Yeah.
Right? Fair?
I always say, what's your message?
What was that? You're smiling when you said that. Because you know you were a beat cop.
You know, when I was a kid.
What were you looking? What were you doing when you were in a beat cop? Were you ever looking at folks?
When I was a kid.
I asked you a question.
I don't know what the question was.
I know they go.
When I was a kid, the only time you could see a woman in her underwear was on the 4th page of the newspaper where they advertised brasiers, panties, and ladies' underwear.
Okay.
And that's where I had to look to see a naked, semi-naked woman in her underwear.
And you always
was in the newspaper.
Did you always go to the back?
Always went to the 4th page.
See, now it's coming out. The real culture is coming out.
Now it's on Facebook.
That's true. Yes, on Facebook. Yes, on Facebook.
Boobs Bella, she's there every day.
So hopefully, you know, and in all due respect, ladies, I hear you, and the same thing, but at the same time, you know, hey, what are we going to do now?
Ladies, don't put up with it.
Don't put up with it, big time. Don't put up with it, big time, because we still want to have families. You know, after a while, you excuse the French. I don't want to get in the gays and the queer thing. You know what I'm saying? All of a sudden, people won't be getting married anymore. Guys say, look, I don't want to deal with that. I'll go down to the doctor and say, no, whack me the other way.
We don't need to worry about that. People are going to keep making babies forever.
Oh, well, hey, the birds and the bees, right? Okay, good. Okay, we that's the national scene aspect of it. Now locally, in all due respect, I guess at the state for the governor's race, state in the legislature, I guess they're looking at one guy right now aspect of it. In terms of groping and whatever, and they're trying to get him out aspect
Another
of it.
groper.
Surely there's going to be some more names. You know, that's going to obviously happen. You got two parties, right? You got me?
I'm waiting for another woman to come forward and say Bob Packwood groped me.
Yeah. Well, he's done now. He's already paid that stuff. That's already done. He lost the deal. He's out of the deal. Now let's get down locally in terms of what. Let's jump right into homeless situation right off the bat aspect of it.
Okay.
What do we do? How do we get the?
Okay, let's look at it
the
this
attention.
way. We need some perspective.
Okay.
50 years ago, what did we do? We have become what we are because of the permissiveness that we allow now. Let me look at what we did 50 years ago. 50 years ago, it was against the city ordinance to beg.
That's right.
If you beg, if you held up a sign, if you asked for money, went to jail.
That's right.
You went to jail.
Right here.
It was right here in downtown.
Right.
If you were hanging around on the street corner, looking like you should be doing something, you went to jail for loitering. That means you couldn't sit there with a sign. That means you couldn't pitch a tent on the sidewalk. I mean, in the 60s, we didn't even let people pitch tents in St. John's on the sidewalk. So because we let them do these things, we have become this way. There used to be an adult curfew. It was called after hours. If you were out after 3 o'clock in the morning goofing off and shouldn't be, you went to jail. So we didn't allow people out at night screwing up. We didn't allow them to beg. We didn't allow them to loiter. And we didn't allow them to get out of hand at night. We put them in jail.
Or crapping in a doorway or pissing in a doorway.
You couldn't do any of that.
You couldn't do that kind of stuff, right?
Now,
you can do it.
You can do anything you want.
You can sleep during the day.
So the solution, it might seem now as draconian,
Bring it
and
back.
it probably is, but we have become what we are today because we permitted it to be so.
Right.
Now we either continue with the permissiveness or we go back to stopping it.
Well, the other issue.
I don't know what to do.
I think that is
This is a big topic.
The other issue in Portland is that Ted Wheeler is not allowing the Portland police officers to do their job. And they're allowing the homeless, who are predators, criminals, and drug addicts and drug dealers, to prey on homeless girls and women, to continue to deal drugs. And Ted Wheeler's not doing enough. He's not allowing the Portland Police Bureau to do its job. And the whole situation in the Springwater Trail was a perfect example of that. And it's happening. And what's happening also is that there's the repercussion in downtown Portland is that businesses are leaving. The jeweler, what was the jeweler's name?
Judith Arnell.
Judith Arnell has left.
They're closing up.
Columbia Sportswear is threatening to leave.
Yeah, that's a huge one.
Nordstrom is having problems because there's so many homeless people in downtown Portland that are violent, that are angry, that are destroying property. So we need to.
They're not getting picked up.
Right.
They're not getting picked up.
Right, and half of them are mentally ill. I mean, Ted Wheeler needs to do more. And he's really illustrating that he's just not that concerned with it. And they make a lot of excuses. He makes a lot of excuses, and so do the other city council members, and they're not doing enough. And the reality is Portland is a disgrace. Portland is becoming an embarrassment on a national level. Last year we had a girl who was in her bare feet, and her baby was born. Nobody knew she was pregnant, and she's walking around in the ice and snow in her bare feet holding her dead baby. That made the national news. That's embarrassing, you know?
It's inhumane too.
Yes.
Portland is in a decline that people don't realize.
Right.
And if you haven't been here as long as I have,
70 years.
then it's hard to see the decline. If you come here 20 years ago, the Benson was always here.
Right.
The urban renewal area was always here. The Keller Fountain, that stuff was always here. No, it wasn't. That used to be where the gypsies lived, South Portland. That was all. It was all a really bad neighborhood.
Clean that all up.
When I first realized it, Bruce, was when 2 or 3 years ago, when Theresa and I went to have dinner at the Benson Hotel. I used to work there as a director of security. It was vibrant. It was a place. The London Grill was closed.
Wow.
Yeah, it closed down.
They were closed for business because they didn't have enough business. Open for special events only. Here's the Benson Hotel in decline.
Right.
And the competition is going crazy with more hotels we're building. The new Lotus, the new... The new hotel business that just keeps coming up, and in the meantime the stores are closing one by one because the citizens aren't in control of their property anymore. If I can't keep you out of my doorway without hiring a $100 a day private security person, then I probably will go out to the suburbs.
Right.
The other thing is this city completely doesn't realize, county either, is that when you come downtown, it's crowded. When you come downtown, there's no place to park. If you do find a place to park after driving around for a while, it costs you $2 or $3. And if you're going to stay for any time, it costs you $4.
Or 10.
Okay, so why would I do that when I can drive to Gresham or I can drive to Beaverton? I can park for free. There's nobody going to nickel and dime me for money at the corner. And I'm not going to have to look at these bums on the street. And I got a free place to park. Why would I go downtown to shop? Now, city leaders, if you don't understand that, continue with the path, and store will close, Nordstrom's will close, Columbia Sportswear will close, Arnell's will be gone, and downtown Broadway will be the main street of the homeless development.
Right, that's the issue. And
that's what's happening.
Don and I were talking last night about downtown Portland and what it used to be. And Don mentioned how many department stores used to be downtown. Now, I remember my mother worked at Lippman and Wolf before it became Frederick and Nelson. She polished silver in the silver department. And I can remember being 3 years old, 1969, going up the elevator with her. And I can remember downtown Portland had Lippman and Wolf, it had Meyer and Frank's, it had Woolworths. I remember Woolworths. It had a lot more stores, and now Meyer and Frank's is gone. Frederick and Nelson is gone. I mean, Nordstrom's the only department store really in downtown now.
For a while.
It's the same one I'm talking about. The same 50 years. All these you can't make it in a department store in downtown Portland anymore. Nordstrom's is the only one left.
Right.
Meyer and Frank's is gone. Macy's is gone. They're all gone. And why are they gone? Because it's too crowded.
And we were talking last night about Nordstrom's, and Nordstrom's has a metal door that they have. like
rolled-down
in
hard
like
drives.
in some place
So
in
folks would be
Beirut.
sleeping
you know?
sleeping inside there, and
Yeah.
Well,
and,
they pull down this metal door, and then there's the glass doors outside, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't
because
remember
it used
that
to be
happening.
open. You could just
Right.
walk in and ride in the
Because-
rain or something like
Because
that.
they're preparing
Yeah,
for someone
yeah.
breaking all of those glass doors and coming in. I mean, that's how insecure
Or
it is
just somebody
for them.
sleeping up there. They're
Yeah.
sleeping or just
Yeah.
crapping there and
Yeah.
pissing up there on the deal and aspect of. It's really a sad
So that's
note
what
there.
Portland's becoming. You know, I'm sitting here and
Yeah.
I'm watching it. How do I help it? I don't know.
Yeah, well, you run for office. We did that. We did that once before, and then we're trying to do it again.
For me, it's depressing. I was a teenager in the 1980s, and I loved Nordstrom's. I grew up going to Nordstrom's, and I will be so bummed if Nordstrom's goes out of business. I really hope they don't.
Wow. Well,
Because
they've got a downtown business association, but see again, their reaction, if you will, are just sort of a temporary kind of reaction.
Yeah.
They're trying to be police.
yeah.
They're trying to be police.
Right.
They're trying to keep the streets clean.
Right.
I mean, doing all those other services they're already paying taxes for.
They're already paying
They're
taxes.
paying taxes for. And I can remember the time, even when I was here, that there were a number of restaurants. There was no food carts down there.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to get a hot dog, you go to Penny's or something
Right.
like that.
Yeah. Right.
You pretty well knew what those situations were, aspect of it. And so that's another thing about the restaurants down there. Like all of a sudden you're losing them.
Right.
And they were competitive in nature. I mean, just almost like the food cart aspect
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
of it. And then it was inside. You got my point?
Yeah.
And the sanitation's are far greater than that of a food cart.
Right.
And I'm not knocking for a person to get into business aspect of it, but it wasn't there.
Right.
It was on the outlining area.
I remember
You
that.
remember that?
Yeah.
It was on the outlining area, but they allowed that downtown aspect of it too.
Mm-hmm.
So that your mindset in terms of getting on the bus on the weekend or something to go downtown and shop on holidays and things of that nature, it was sort of a refreshment. I want to go down there and buy myself something from downtown.
Right.
Aspect of it.
Right.
There's no downtown.
Right.
There's
Now
no
it's
downtown.
Or you go down there and you're accosted, and if
Oh,
you look,
gee.
if you look halfway decent, you're spare changed, and if you don't give them money, they accuse you of being a rich, SOB, and
Yeah,
I mean
yeah.
it's ridiculous.
Well, like I said, something needs to be done, and I'll be right up front with it.
It's not fun to go downtown anymore.
Well,
Yeah.
as far as I'm
Depressing to go downtown now.
Yes,
It's
right,
dangerous
right,
to go
right,
downtown now.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, again, since we're talking about this, so what do we do? I mean, we do have we do supposedly we have leadership.
What we do?
People that we put in office
Yeah.
to respond to those, but we're having problems
Well,
because
yeah.
because they don't have the background necessary, if you will, to be able to be responsive.
Right.
They don't have the resume. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
They don't have the resume. And that's the key. Too often we just kind of like, you vote on someone because they sent you a flyer and you see that repetitive name, Mickey Mouse, Mickey Mouse, Mickey Mouse. No, I'm going to take it off.
What I'm seeing in City Hall is a lot of passive aggressive game playing, talking about the things they need to do to create a better situation here in Portland for the homeless, and they're not doing anything.
Yeah,
They have
no,
their
no,
special
no.
interests, and they're doing everything but address this issue. And the situation with Wapato is a prime example.
Yes.
Selling it for quote 10 million when it's worth 50 million,
No,
and you
not more than
said.
that. No, we got over $100 and some million in
Right.
that during.
And it's never been used for what it should have
It
been.
hasn't been used, whatever.
It's disgraceful.
And we've still been maintaining it.
Right.
Through all these
Right.
years. It's a dry place.
Right.
The water comes on. You
Right.
got me? I mean, you can even lock your door. I mean,
Right.
when people talk about their own possessions, because as if to say when they pick up a homeless person, they're supposed to pick up all their possessions, if you will,
Yeah.
and then house it somewhere while they're doing something in
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
a clean place. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
You got me? So here's Wapato sitting there that we've gotten there. It's sitting there, and you're right. They sold it, and they still haven't gotten the check. I went down to the
Well, they
meeting.
said it's been sold, but we don't have any money.
We don't have any money.
What kind of a sale is that?
There's no money, and the person who bought it is looking at trying to figure out what are they going to do. What is he going to do with the place? He's basically looking at the folks who are saying we need to have a shelter and this, that, and that. Wait a minute. Okay, if that is the case, if that's the case, we don't have the money. Someone should stand up and say, make the point. I'm standing up right now. In fact, that matter. Say, okay, fine. During these next 3 or 4 months, when it's bad weather, we'll just use it as a shelter.
Right.
Right now.
Yeah.
And tell the owner, hey, look, you haven't given us the check, so we're going to renegotiate this piece aspect of it. And
Right.
you go on and find your money aspect of it, but we're going to take this time frame and we're going to make it a shelter right now
Right.
to get us through this weather situation. And maybe call the governor. We got a lot of land out there, and tell them to bring some nice tent, get the National Guard to do that training over there.
Absolutely.
You got my training?
Absolutely.
They can check those people, medical and whatever, and call Reese up. who's supposed to be our sheriff aspect of it, because that's his job.
That's
You know,
right.
if we're overcrowded in the wherever the places of incarceration, whatever, he's supposed to have the job, the know-how, and the planning
Right.
to say, okay, fine, we're going to house him over here. We're going to do this. The same point that I'm making here now. This is what we're going to do. We got some school buildings over here. We're just going to take them on temporarily. But that's his job. That's his job. Now, you just told me that you had to be a police officer in order to run for office for that deal. As far as I mean, it's just an administrative.
sheriff,
It's
yeah.
administrative position.
Yeah.
What do you do when you take someone in? You lock them up, right? It's a jailer. You put them in and you take them out. You clean them up, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But anyway, look like we
Sheriff
got.
is an administrator.
Is administrative. So look at. Well, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. I hope you stay with us, folks. I think it's getting very interesting, and have these kind of discussions among yourselves, because we got a problem right now. We got to solve the problem. Okay? Be right back.
You are watching Oregon Voters Digest. This program can be seen again on these channels on these dates and times. Tell a friend.
Well, we're back, folks. Again, Thanksgiving is up, and I'm sure we're trying to get that food thing together where everybody's going to be, just sitting back, just eating turkey. I mean, I don't know which part I'm going to get. Maybe get that thigh first, right? I like that thigh.
Do you?
You like the leg? Which one do you?
Dark meat.
Yeah, ooh, that's the only way to go. Yeah. Ooh, boy, I tell you, I say potato salad, and
Yams.
greens, and oh my God, oh gee, lima and beans and rice. Oh my God, all kinds of stuff. Oh, anyway, we're doing a show here right now. We're trying to get this thing squared away. But anyway, you'll be seeing this same show next week, so you can sit around and lounge around and turn the tube on and look at the same show. But right now, we got 30 more minutes. We got a few more things we want to say. When we just broke, we took this break. We were talking about Wapato, talking about we need to use it as a shelter aspect of it, and then talk. Let's talk a little bit more in terms of who's responsible. We're talking about the county now, this, that, and the other.
Who didn't vote for
and why
Wapato?
did we focus?
It is,
yeah. And
Wapato, has been the pariah of the Multnomah County for way
Years,
too many
man.
years. When I ran for sheriff in 2006, that was part of my platform to use it for something functional, and get on with it, do something with it. I would have done something with it, and you can sue me later if you didn't like the results.
Yep. I remember that.
But I
You
didn't
right
get
here.
elected, so that didn't happen. But now we have the same situation. To the credit of Loretta Smith, she did not vote for the sale of Wapato.
On the commission, right?
Yeah.
Congratulations
That was
to her.
good. That was good. Yep.
She sees the reality of
That was
what's
good.
going
Yep,
on
that was
more
good.
than, oh, well, I got rid of this albatross.
Right.
And I think that's the way the rest of the county commission saw it. Jesus, let's get rid of this
Right,
thing. We've been
right.
dealing with it for so many years.
Right.
Well, maybe so. Maybe it's a dead horse, but still, we got winter coming on.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's here now.
Yep.
We don't have any money for it
Right,
yet,
right.
so let's just, like you said, use it for
Yep.
a shelter
Yeah.
And
until something else happens.
And debate it during that particular time too. I
You
mean,
also wanted to say something about the recent article about Loretta and the fine.
well, that's
Well,
that
that's-
city deal. That's a whole deal.
Yeah,
We'll
that's a
we'll
whole-
get into that.
yeah,
one.
we'll
We
get
want to
into
talk about that
Okay.
as those spots that are open. But there's somebody in the wing that's sitting there as a replacement. And right up front with, I'm going to run because all these things I've seen the folks who said that have indicated they run, but they just don't have the right resume right now. We got to get back to the issues.
Yeah.
Right.
Someone has to make that statement, if you will, now.
Yeah.
While there's still everybody sitting down there. I would have liked to have seen those other folks who've indicated that they were going to be running for the position for her position because she's term limit at those meetings.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm at those meetings.
Yeah.
You got to be at those meetings.
You gotta be at the
Someone
meetings,
should have been raising up their hand because I'm raising up my hand. I challenged that about a while back. I've been ongoing. We've been doing this right here on the show. But anyway, long story short, we'll deal with that other deal. Now, let's get right now into the so-called the leadership that we're going to be looking at, both from the county and talking about the city of Portland aspect of it. And let's go to the city right off the bat here. I mean, we went through an election piece, and the same folks who've elected the new city council sitting since now, Udaley, right?
Chloe Udaley.
Chloe Udaley. And
Miss Firecracker.
Boy, I tell you, it's been crazy. Some of the same people that got her on board are asking her, having some problem with
They're having some regrets.
Some regrets, big time. Okay.
I need to say this going in, because my attitude towards all of it is the same. If you're running for city commissioner, it's a $110,000 a year position. That's a chief executive officer of a big bureau that has a multi-million-dollar budget and a large staff.
Yes.
That is not a job that can be accomplished by someone that's a high school dropout.
Well, the resume.
I'm sorry.
The resume.
I'm sorry, but if you drop out of high school, or you didn't graduate from high school, or you went to community college, that's not going to qualify you for a $110,000 a year job. I'm sorry, Chloe. I'm sorry, Hardesty. That's just the way it is.
Well, with regard to Chloe, definitely Joanne Hardesty is a lot more accomplished than Chloe Udaley, and she can talk the talk. And she's very articulate. I just have to say she's a professional. Chloe Udaley is not a professional. She got in trouble because she posted something on Facebook, which I'd like to read.
When was this?
This was 3 days ago, I believe, and it was, of course, she thought it was private. Well, she's a city commissioner. It's not private.
There's nothing private on Facebook.
Nothing private on Facebook.
Right.
Jesus Christ,
Right.
give me a break.
And that really illustrates how naive she is. But she wrote, nothing like waking up to an article that contains blatant misinformation about my office and bureau. Maybe Jessica Flem shouldn't have contacted me after her deadline, after 5 p.m. at the beginning of a holiday weekend, if she genuinely wanted a response from me. She's really not sharp enough. Wink, wink. She's really not sharp enough to be covering City Hall. Then again, the Oregonian is irrelevant, so who cares, I guess. Now, she got criticized for this, and I believe Steve Dean from the Oregonian wrote a commentary about this situation as well, and I read it, and it was really good. He wrote a good commentary, but the point is, she's emotionally immature. She's impulsive. She's rude. She's ill-mannered. She's stormed out of City Hall meetings. I don't believe as bad as Steve Novick was, that he stormed out of any meetings.
But it's bad with her, because every time she sees a constituency coming in, she automatically just takes off.
Well, she can't handle any kind of criticism, and I know that that's because of her innate insecurities. She dropped out of high school. She got her GED. That's wonderful. A lot of people have done that. I'm not criticizing her for that. She did lie. She said she had completed an associate's degree, and she didn't. She went to PCC for a year. So on her campaign website, she indicated that she had a 2-year degree, and she didn't. So right there, she was lying. She's not much better than Steve Novick, except that her big platform has been creating opportunities for the homeless and housing.
And
rent control, which really, we've talked with Fred Stewart. Rent control doesn't work. Rent control is innately racist. I didn't understand how it was innately racist until Fred Stewart explained it. That it's you have situations where you have these buildings, they're managed by typically white people, and then they get their friends and family to move in, and pretty soon this building that was meant for low-income people, it's all white. So yeah, rent control is.
But that was her base. I mean, that's what she ran on.
Yeah.
And in fact, just a little side note, I saw that because I follow her too, and she was saying, "Gee whiz, white people," and I hit her back. I texted her back and said, "Hey, look here, just stay focused on what got you there."
Right.
If rent control is what got you there, then spend your time trying to make a better place, if you will. Make sure that it's working.
Well, and the changes that she created, the changes where if someone wants to give a tenant a 30-day no-cause eviction, they have to fork over $3,000 or $5,000. That may be unconstitutional. That's not carved in stone, and it may not be able to continue either. But she's just not politician material, and I hope she's saving her pennies, because there won't be another term.
So whose responsibility should it have been to make sure they vetted her? They should have. See, there's a responsibility for vetting. Someone should. We do have a media. You got my point? We do have investigative reporters and this, that, and the other. That's supposed to be an educated, articulated kind of an entity, right? What happened?
I,
No, they're not doing it.
yeah.
Well, Steve Novak was the one, and then they were pissed off with Steve for the. I was campaigning at the same time
Steve-
about holes in the streets and this,
Yeah.
that, and that. But it looked like
He didn't do a very good job, and he's so condescending. Steve Novak really, he did himself in because of his attitude, and Chloe Eudaly is being compared to Trump. I can't count how many times in the last 3 months I have read on social media, she's just like Trump. People are comparing her to Donald Trump. That's embarrassing.
Wow. Wow. Well, there's a lot being said. I mean, in all due respect, his names are in caption, if you will. They're on the scale every day. You know what I mean,
Yes.
the Mickey Mouse deal. I mean, automatic.
Yeah.
You'd run to that because of frustration.
Yeah.
You got my point?
Yeah.
But no, it's a major issue right now. And again, we've got some major issues in the
we
city,
do.
and we shouldn't be
housing-
talking about this.
The rent control thing is more than just a racist thing.
Yeah, yeah.
It's unnatural because
Yeah.
it violates the law of supply and demand.
Mm-hmm.
So you're imposing, whether I like it or not, whether I
Right.
can raise my rent or not, it's a free market.
Yeah, yeah.
And imposing controls that are artificial will never work
Mm-hmm.
because you can't violate the law of supply and demand, you can't violate the law of gravity, you can't violate the law of averages. Those are the laws that are always going to get you.
Yeah.
And rent control is a temporary and a false solution to the problem.
Right.
Well,
You probably weren't around when I was, but during the Second World War, they had the Office of Price Administration, the OPA. Nobody could raise the prices on anything until the war was over because it was false. But when the war was over, man, the prices went up, the hamburgers went up, the cars went up. You know, whew, everybody said, wow, that's great. But it's false, it can't work. And rent control is no different.
Well, you know,
Ultimately, ultimately it will never work because
no.
Well,
Supply and demand
another
is what
another
Just supply and
aspect,
demand. It
another
is.
aspect of rent control that's really important, and Fred Stewart also told me about this one day. Landowners that have rent control in their units don't maintain them because they don't have an impetus to maintain them. You know, and I mean, I've read articles about the rent-controlled housing in New York. It's just falling apart because it you know,
it's artificial.
yeah, the landowners don't have you know, they feel helpless. They can't raise the rent with the market or what have you, and they don't maintain the property. But it's just.
But it's gotten to that particular point.
Yeah.
But on the other side, like Don was saying, it's supply and demand
Yeah.
in many ways, because a person may say, well, look, I'm going to sacrifice everything I can to maybe get myself a little unit over here, you know, thinking in terms of the future for retirement or something of that nature. But let me tell you something. Once a person gets in that unit,
Yeah.
you know how much of an effort it takes to get them out, and how much of it costs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got my point?
Yeah.
You might be sitting there talking about you got notes to pay.
I
and
do.
You're looking a year down the way before you can get that person out.
Yeah,
And doing that,
right.
and by that particular time, besides your loss. For your loss for those mortgage payments, i.e. those rent payments, rather than the mortgage payment, for a year, then the place is totally torn up, right?
Right,
You got
right.
me? And the next thing you know, there you're sitting with something, and then all of a sudden you get caught up in i.e. in the same situation, you're hurting for days.
Yeah.
But my point, it takes leadership. I mean,
Yeah.
that's why I come right back to the leadership. When we elect these people, that's why we elect these people, if you will, to be thinking in terms of planning ahead. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can't have this, you have this. This is what we got to. We want a good city. I mean, people living.
There's also this issue of values in Portland. Portland is becoming whiter. Portland is becoming richer. We've got people from out of state coming here and taking away housing from natives like Dawn and me and lots of other people. And, you know, I remember when we were on your show a couple months ago with Joanne Hardesty, she pointed out, she made a very good point, that 75% of the housing that's being built in Portland is all luxury housing. What's up with that? That means that Ted Wheeler and the people on City Council are not doing their job.
Called
And
planners.
when we have these tiny houses, there was an article in I think the Portland Tribune recently about the tiny houses. These women in that one camp, there's 12 women in this women's camp. They've got these little tiny houses. They don't have any way to heat them. They're little more than a shed. They're not tiny houses, they're sheds. And they're wood and they're metal, and these women are freezing to death. What's going to happen when it's 15 degrees out? Are we going to have women freezing to death in that women's camp?
Well, that's the
You
biggest
know?
problem. When you think about homelessness, you're not talking about housing, you're talking
Right.
about sheltering.
Right.
There's a
Yeah.
difference between sheltering and housing.
Right.
See, and in all due respect, what I see the city doing, they're using the homeless in many ways to talk about we need more affordable homes,
Right.
housing, and whatever. But the bottom line is that when you start talking about affordable, that's still you got to make a payment. Most of these folks that are sitting out there in a homeless situation don't have the money.
Right.
They may have a small Social Security
Right.
figure, but so my point is that we're looking for sheltering, like the Wapato did.
Yeah.
That would be a shelter condition.
Right.
You bring the governor involved in it and put tents up there and bring the National Guard for sheltering
Yeah.
for maybe the next 3 or 4 months aspect of it. You vet those people, you got me? You vet them and you make sure if a person got they got a little Social Security money here,
Right.
this, that, and the other, then guess what? Then you say they got the Housing Authority of Portland. That's what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
But guess what? You got the input, the output, but when a person first applies, they may not have a job, right?
Yeah.
And they get into a unit over here, and they're only paying $100, and yet still the units are renting for about $400 or $500. But then the person gets a job. Then once they get a job, so they're supposed to basically increase their rent or move out to another level.
Yeah.
But guess what? They don't do that. They don't vet it.
Yeah.
So they just stay there. You
You
see what I'm
know-
saying? Like downtown, you got folks making $60,000 and $70,000 in
Right.
these units aspect of it, and they're still paying $200 or $300 a month.
I want that.
I
That's
have
insulting.
a sociological
Not vetted.
concern. I have a sociological concern, and that is tiny houses.
Tiny houses.
I have a
Would you
real
say housing?
concern with
Is this housing
and they're not
or
houses.
sheltering? What is it?
They call them tiny houses, but I have a sociological concern. Are we becoming a society of the haves and the have-nots? Is it going to become acceptable for poor people to live in little sheds? They're not houses, they're sheds. And for housed people to live better? It seems to me like that's where we're heading. And we've got this increase in violence in downtown Portland. The homeless people are acting out, they're breaking windows. There's a lot of frustration because they don't know how to better their lives. A lot of them half of them are mentally ill. Most of them are addicted or alcoholic or mentally ill. They need help, and they're not getting it. So we're becoming two cities. We're becoming a city of the very poor living in sheds, and they're calling them tiny houses, but they're not. They're sheds. And then housed people. And that's so distressing to see that shift happen,
It's a modern version of the wrong side of the tracks.
Right.
You live over here if you got a tiny house. Live over here.
Right.
You got a better neighborhood.
And it's becoming acceptable. Are we going to have numerous villages in the city of Portland with these people living in sheds? That's what they are. They're sheds.
Yeah.
They don't have electricity. They don't have heating. They don't have plumbing. It's ridiculous. So I'm frustrated. I mean,
frustrated,
Dawn and I were downtown a week and a half ago, and we went to a talk somewhere, and we were downtown. We were parking, and I, in my whole life, have never been downtown and have seen so much trash. We were on 4th Avenue, and there were newspapers and trash everywhere, just blowing through the streets. And I stood there, and I was like, Dawn, look around. I was amazed how dirty downtown is getting.
So you ask yourself the question and think about it, going right back to what Don was saying. 50 years ago, 35, 40 years ago, aspect of that wasn't an issue.
Yeah.
Those folks got picked up right then and there.
We had
the
damage.
trash and all that other stuff was picked up right then and there aspect of it. Today, we need to re-implement that piece because in all due respect, the person who gets picked up today, if you will, to go to the institution, which is crazy, isn't it? They go to the institution, they leave the stuff right there.
Right.
And it just sits there, the crap and the whole 9 yards. Then they
Right.
go to the institution, right? And what does happen to the institution? They take all their clothes off. They get a good shower.
Yeah.
They get a good shower, get good clean clothes,
Right.
good bathing, shelter, right? Temporary shelter for a while because you committed the crime, and you go through that whole process. Wait a minute. Something's wrong. Well, one of the things I would do right up front with you, if we went back to that point, when they get picked up, they get, well, the guys who've been picked up before and they got cleaned up, 2 or 3 days after, they're on a cleanup detail. That's what they're supposed to be, going around cleaning all that stuff up. Early in the morning, the fire department would get together and wash those streets down and all that stuff out the way. My point is that those are the kinds of things we need back in place. And all these folks that are talking about the inhumane, all I will say to them,
Right.
in all due respect, please raise your hand. Will you take one home with you?
Right.
Please, if you love them,
Right.
but make sure you share the family, do the whole 9 yards, give them a
And
good
they
warm,
won't.
and it's right, they won't. Give them a good warm place. Now, I understand they may have some ladies, right? They got to have them come on in there, and you got some options there. But my point is that That sounds inhumane. See,
Right.
You're too
sounds
conservative.
draconian.
Yeah,
But-
you're too conservative.
Right, but it's not. It's
BS.
just practical.
Hey,
Yeah. You
I'm
know.
telling you. And then all the folks.
Too much tunnel vision here in this city, because we keep talking about we need to build more housing, more
We do.
apartment houses, and they do, and they keep going up. You see these cranes all over everywhere, and
And how much is the rent?
We can't-
$2,000 a month.
And you can't address
That's
the
not
homeless problem. They
affordable
can't
housing.
afford it. That's
the
right.
road
Yeah.
is messed up to get there.
Right.
The schools, you got to put the
Hey,
kids in, don't
hey,
have any money.
hey.
The police, there's not
Hey,
enough police.
hey.
There's not enough firemen.
Right.
When are you going to stop building?
But guess what? You know who's getting
When are you
paid
gonna
well?
stop?
The people at City Council and
That's
Ted
right.
Wheeler.
That's right.
They're getting paid real
That's right.
well.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
And they got benefits
And perks.
Yeah.
and perks.
Lots of perks.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
my point? See?
So
So,
no, let's just keep building houses, and the roads can go to hell.
Well, and another issue that's really important with regard to the homeless is this, and this is something that Ted Wheeler and the new chief of police really need to think about. We have two different sets of homeless. We have the predator criminal, drug addict, drug dealers who are out raping
Yeah,
and
yeah.
selling drugs and living
Yeah,
in tents
oh, yeah,
because they
oh,
would
yeah.
rather shoot up.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and we have genuine, worthy homeless. And I'm going to say there are worthy homeless and there are unworthy homeless.
But you can't tell the difference until you
Right.
can get them all in one area and vet them.
Right.
You gotta check 'em out.
The Portland
That's
Police
what they do.
Bureau, the Portland Police Bureau, it needs to be allowed to do its job to get rid of these sexual predators and pedophiles and heroin addicts that are coming to Portland because, oh, come to Portland, it's really easy. The cops will leave you alone.
Yeah,
you know?
the answer to what you just said, the cops pick them up. Once they pick them up, they take them over here to the jailer. That's the process.
Right.
You got me? And then while they're in jail, they're vetted. Figure out who in the hell they got in there, right? You have to give them more time, if you will, or they do this or do this or do that. But my point, we had a process of everybody, and it was all clean, and everybody understood that system. So consequently, we need a sheriff.
Yeah.
We need a sheriff who's a jailer. In all due respect, I've seen Reese. I've had him. In fact, I want to have him on. I understand he's running. He's the only one that's running right now, aspect of it. But I'm
Who's
having-
going to run against Mike Reese?
Well, that's right, because he's running as a policeman. He's a jailer. It's an administrative position, you know, and it's a very important job because once the Portland police picks him up, they take him over here. That person has to be vetted. All kinds of things happen with that person. You got to take them out on those cleanup details like they do on Marine Drive. We'll do the same thing in the whole city.
Or give them a ticket to out of state if they're not from Portland.
That's a good deal. But you got to work with the next person. So you
We're driving the ACLU crazy here.
you got to watch it. We'd have to be putting gates and barriers. We may need a wall there then, see, and every state would be having a wall.
You know,
no, just implement what we're supposed to do.
the other issue is the Portland Police Bureau is under constant fire no matter what they do. And so we have a problem, I think we have a problem with disengaged police officers. They're damned if they do and they're damned if they don't.
Well, when they pick the person up, they pick the crime up to solve the problem. They take him to the jail, and they can't take him to the jail anymore.
Right. Because
can't take
they
them to
might
the
be
jail.
violating their constitutional rights.
Yeah, I mean, and
meanwhile,
that- and
we've
that-
got businesses going out of business in downtown Portland. I mean, it's ridiculous.
But that's not their job. That job is to enforce the laws
Right.
that are given to them by the people through the elected official.
Yeah.
The mayor is responsible. He's the commanding officer of the whole damn
Yeah.
police, and then he has a chief that he should communicate, which he doesn't. It's just he's just sitting there.
You know,
and
the bottom line is that Ted
he's
Wheeler,
never been. Has he been a policeman yet? Has he?
Ted Wheeler is an accountant. He doesn't know anything about police culture or the police
Has he? In
bureau.
fact, was he ever in the military?
I don't know.
I don't believe so. No,
I don't think so.
I don't think so. No.
So he doesn't even have an idea
No.
of what that parapet.
He doesn't know how to handle the Portland Police Bureau. He doesn't know how to make the officers feel supported. He doesn't know how to encourage. He doesn't see the value in encouraging the Portland police officers to do their job and arrest violent, criminally offending homeless.
Yeah, right.
you
In
know?
fact, on that same home, they've created a czar now.
Yeah.
Who's basically running the whole homeless again, with all of the various entities. That's right.
Yeah.
I think the guy's picking up $100,000
And
Just to
also,
overlook, when in essence he could have gone to some of these individuals that have been building these little makeshift
Yeah.
housing and used that as part of a committee aspect of it. So when he's making $100,000,
Right.
he has no background whatsoever. He's never been homeless
right,
whatsoever in his
right.
life.
It's
I
not
mean,
a value to him. He doesn't
no,
really
no.
care.
That's another
And-
guy. That's
yeah.
that's the other guy that just got appointed. I've called him 1,000 times to tell him to come on the show and say, okay, fine. Will you please explain to us exactly how you're going to handle this position? He won't even answer his phone. You can call right now. His staff, you should see the staff. And he just picked up another
Right.
$1 million or so
Right.
from the county to go in his coffers. He's got a nonprofit running.
And another thing.
Trust me, if I get elected, in fact, no, we're elected now. I'm running now. That's why I'm talking about these issues. I'll have enough between now and was it now and May. Now in May, I'll have the opportunity, and then if given the opportunity to go beyond that particular point, whether it's a runoff or whatever, but we're gonna get involved, and I got to get involved.
Well, another thing I want to say about Ted Wheeler is and City Council is that they're canceling meetings a lot.
Oh yeah.
And they just don't care what Portlanders think. You know, they're running the city like you said, like czars,
Yeah.
and that's not democratic, and that's not the way it was run in the 70s.
You gotta vote, folks. You better vote. You better start reading that material and asking the question of these individuals. What have you done? Give me something specific. Put together a contract and say, this is what you're going to do within a certain period of time. And if you haven't done it, you're out of there.
Yeah.
And you've got to demand that because it's supposed to be a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And if you're not responsible enough to vote and take that responsibility, we're going to be living in the same conditions.
Yeah.
That's what we are right now. So look at yourself in the mirror and say, hey, I'm responsible. What are you going to do about it? Don?
My issue with Ted
Pretty
Wheeler.
depressing. I'm ready to leave.
Oh no, you can't leave. You're running for sheriff. I mean, you got to be a policeman to run for sheriff, right?
Yeah, you do.
I mean, even if it's just between now and May, Don, you just do that. See, and then I'm gonna run for county commissioner, and then we got to be working together. Somebody's got to be on the commission to say, okay, fine, I want this done. Well, as far as I'm concerned, I want these folks picked up, and not picked
Yeah.
up. That's the Portland police. I'm not
Yeah.
running for. I'm not running for city council. I'm running for the county.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that we're talking about shelter.
Yeah,
We need
yeah,
shelter for.
right.
That's the main. It's not home. It's not homes and housing. It's sheltering.
Right.
It's sheltering. Okay, fine. Look like I got about a minute to go right now. They pounding. We need about another hour, guys. Is that an hour? You gave me. Oh, is that the thing? Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. There's that Marine in there. That's right there. But folks, thank you very much. And like I said, we're going to play this. This is going to probably go back next Thursday, and then we're going to do something on it afterwards. Aspect of that. But anyway, thank you very much. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Hey, hey.
Happy Thanksgiving. And unfortunately, the homeless, you're going to probably eat your meal real quick, like, and then be thrown out to go out there and eat in the rain. And that's basically what you're going to be doing. You're going to be doing it that way. But that's the name of the game.
Yeah.
But thank you very much, folks. Have a good one. See you a couple weeks from now. Have a good one. Okay? And for sure, now remember that. And by the way, think about that homeless. Think about some of the things that we talked about. Think about some of the things we're talking about. Saying be ready, and be ready, if you will, to really get back down to the business to handle the issues that we've been talking about today. The homeless issue aspect of it. Folks who are going to be wanting to run for office. Make sure you ask to see the resume. Who in the heck are these people, and are they going to be able to perform the job that they're running for?
Yep.
And to the mayor, do your damn job, man. Come on. And
Yep.
please come on the show. If you need some help, you got us. We'll help you. We'll give you some direction. We understand you don't have the background. That's cool. But you're there, and we got to deal with you. You are the mayor. I'm the people. I got you in there. Okay? That's the name of the game. You got to do your job. I'm paying the bill, and I want you doing the job. That's
Right.
where we are. Okay, fine? Folks, thank you very much for being with us. It's always a pleasure. And boy, I tell you, it's been some time. And I want to thank you guys
Yes.
for being here with us.
Thank you.
It's been really great. And gee, wow, we got a lot of work to do.
I'm so
Are you
depressed.
gonna be
I don't
ready?
know what to do.
Huh? No, you're gonna be just
The
fine.
ACLU is going to be after us in a
fine.
minute.
Okay, folks. Well, have a good one. Take care. See you next week after next, right after Thanksgiving. Have a good one. Hey folks, thanks for watching. But now I need to ask you a favor. Tell me what you think of the show. Because this show is for you, the viewers. I'm just here to help bring the discussion to the table, if you will. Is there a topic you want to hear more about? Get on that social media and send me a message. On YouTube, write a comment below the video. Give me a thumbs up if you like it, or a thumbs down if you didn't. And click subscribe and stay in touch with future discussions. You can also post a message on our Facebook page at facebook.com//Oregon Voter Digest. I love you, folks, and I'll see you next week. Take care.